Mentoring is not just passing on information, it is shaping lives. And like a parent, sometimes you shape by encouragement, sometimes you shape by the threat, sometimes you do what you have to do.
And sometimes you shape by pulling away intentionally to allow space for that person to process stuff on their own.
I like that.
And that's one of the things that triggers that ejection, because people tend to process withdrawal as rejection. Part of my mentoring of you is creating space for you to figure stuff out from a safe distance, and I'll jump in if and when I need to.
Now today, I just want you to just introduce yourselves very briefly so that people know who you are, where you're coming from, etc., etc. I'm going to start with the apostle with the cup.
My name is Israel Olumide Siave. I lead a network of ministries and initiatives called Kingdom Culture Movement. I also run a few non-ministerial initiatives that are focused on coaching, mentoring, and also financial literacy and empowerment.
Good. Miss Marcia.
Hi, my name is Marcia Dixon. I run a PR company called Marcia Dixon Public Relations, but what I also do is I run regular events for women in ministry, teaching them the practical aspects of running a ministry, and I do some mentoring of mainly women in ministry and people who want to understand how to use PR better.
And congratulations are in order for your MBE too.
Ooh, thank you.
We take our hat off to you.
Thank you.
Well done.
Hi, I'm Pastor Krisha, and I lead an organization called The Life Live Better. My passion is to serve communities and mental health, really, and that's all.
And you do so many things. She cares about people, and she really has a heart for young people and pastors. I love the fact that you're also from Sri Lanka and you come from a war-torn area. And so I think you do a lot of good in healing hearts. Can you share a little bit about your mentoring?
Yes, so mainly I work with Sri Lankan Tamils. They come from war zone, 30 years of war. So if you are 30 years in Sri Lanka, you haven't seen a train, electricity. So they come with a lot of baggage to this country. So they're hurt, they're broken, insecurity. So these people need mentoring, loving, showing the way. So I work with a lot of youngsters and any age really, because there are not very older people, Tamil people in UK. It's all 40s to 60s because of the war they moved here.
Wow. Couldn't even begin to imagine it. Apostle Israel, what kind of people do you work with in your mentoring?
Well, within church and ministerial circles, obviously I lead an organization that covers a lot of churches. I'm also a continental chief operating officer for a larger network of churches called Jabula. And so I work with pastors, ministry leaders. I work with people who lead in business, community, a few people who are getting into politics now. But my passion is working with other leaders, people who are passionate about helping people develop potential, future, purpose, coaches, people of that nature. Majority of them are in their mid-40s and younger. There's a few of them who are older. So seeing that, like she mentioned, young people from Sri Lanka, seeing a new generation of people who are now responsible for shaping culture and purpose for other people is really my passion right now, and seeing how they bring a different flavor to things.
Wonderful, shaping culture and purpose
Yes.
for other people. Lady Marcia, why did you decide to do mentoring? Everybody knows you do PR, media, that's always been, you're a legend. You've been at this thing, ancient days, for so long. and in this post-COVID era, how important is this mentoring agenda for you?
Well, I made the switch. Well, I didn't make the switch. I felt the Spirit leading me to really kind of provide practical insights to women in ministry, because I see women in ministry and I just felt they had the passion, but didn't always have the practical tools to kind of achieve whatever goals they needed to achieve. So I started my breakfast, and the women came. They've said that they find it really useful. And even during the lockdown, I had an online conference. In fact, it was the most well-attended breakfast that I've ever had, and it was online. And I just really sensed that Christian women really want to achieve great things for God. And I'm just here really to kind of support and mentor. I used to do that via my journalism, I do it via my PR, and now I'm doing it for women in ministry because there's a great work to do. There's a lot of work in the kingdom. Women are playing a part in that, and they need to be equipped to do that. And I love it. I love seeing women grow. I love seeing them having an impact. That's what I'm about.
That's what God's about too, isn't it? The way that we see him work throughout scripture is that he gets, there's a mentoring scheme and a mentoring strategy going to raise the next level of biblical leaders who will shape the future. That's very critical. But what every time you mention mentoring, either people are excited or they're cautious. What is this thing about not trusting? What is this thing about hurts? What baggages are we carrying? Anybody have any stories, maybe your own or other people's own?
Well, it's not my story, but I do hear instances of mentoring situations where somebody's been mentored and the mentor might think that the mentee is not ready for wherever that mentee wants to go. And then the mentee will kind of break away and do their own thing, then criticize the mentor because the mentor has said they're not ready. And oftentimes what I have found, the mentor is correct because, it's you're mentoring them in order for them to develop and grow so that they're ready to step out and do whatever it is they need to do on their own. But sometimes people just get hungry. And I think sometimes when people are being mentored by leaders, prominent leaders, deep down in their hearts, they want that kind of recognition and respect that mentor has, and that causes them to kind of go out and do what they leave. But
wow.
it does happen, doesn't it?
Yes.
For me, I want to just go back to the meaning of the word mentor and the fact that it shares a root with the word mental. Because I think part of the problems we have in mentoring, both sides, both the mentees and the mentors, is a misunderstanding of what that word is. Many people see it as a relationship of convenience where I want something from you, I want to learn something from you. My understanding of what mentoring really is, which in my opinion leads to these issues, is it's a relationship between two people for any length of time. It should usually be established what the parameters of that relationship is. So the fact that I'm mentoring you or vice versa doesn't mean that I'm responsible for every area of your life. But whatever that jurisdiction is, the understanding is you are permitting that mentor to basically get in your mental space. That person is supposed to be shaping your perception, your view, and your paradigm, not controlling it, but creating an environment where that is developed in that area. And so the issue with that is, on the side of the mentor, is if the mentor takes it from, helping facilitate your paradigm shaping to wanting to prescribe what your journey and your perception on certain things should be, that's one problem. On the flip side, you have mentees who don't really want to be shaped. They come into a mentoring relationship, like she said, looking for the clout or the platforms or the opportunities or just the knowledge that come with it. And so they want to teach the mentor how to mentor them. They're basically saying, this is what I want to be, help me become this. You don't have a say in whether or not what I want to be and how I want to go about doing it is right in the first place. And so that's the balance we have to find between my job as a mentor or anyone else's job is to create an environment and a construct where your paradigm and mental framework in an area is developed and shaped for its full potential. And you have to buy into that. But I then have to know where to draw the line in allowing you be your own person, as opposed to prescribing to you what I think you should be. So
the parameters within which this mentoring relationship will emerge is important.
Very important.
Drawing the line, that has to be understood by both parties, right?
Yes.
At what point?
At the beginning, in my opinion.
At the beginning of the mentoring relationship.
And it needs to be revisited as that relationship evolves.
Good. I guess it's healthy for the mentor to know, and it's healthy for the mentee, because it's really permission that we give each other. I think I said on a previous series that it's interesting because when we both come together as mentor and mentee, there's a vulnerability. Mm-hmm. I need your permission to delve there. You need my permission to delve there. And we're both vulnerable. Mm-hmm. Why does it always seem like the mentor gets the bad press?
Because the mentor is the one with all the knowledge and possibly the control in inverted commas. They're the one with the power and the influence which the mentee is seeking to learn. And sometimes they can feel like they're being manipulated when a mentee, for me, it's your relationship with a mentee, whether it's formal or informal. Most of my mentoring is informal. You kind of feel like a parent because you're kind of guiding them and you're teaching them things that you know in the long run, well, you believe in the long run will be good for them. So obviously, the one with the greater power is the one that's going to is the one that's going to get all the stick.
It is a nurturing relationship. And so by virtue of that, there's got to be carrot and stick. There's got to be kisses and slaps, you know, in many ways. But on a serious note, let's go to where the control is. And I think there's a swear word that people don't like. It's the word accountability. Let's discuss accountability just briefly. Where and how should it take place, and can it cause any danger?
So, like, you know, I'm really amazed, and because, like, you know, thank God I never got this, like, you know, people didn't say bad things about me, because in my culture and the way that I have mentored people, they have seen me as a mother. So one of the stories is, at least I have named about 30 children.
Oh.
So they bring their child and say, name my child. For me, mentoring is not coaching, not training. It's not an event. It's not a series. It's walking. It's a lifestyle. It's walking with them, running. It's not being a coach, training, you do that to success. It's actually walking and running with them. So I think it's a positive, successful
So you haven't had any. I'll
story,
gladly
I would
exchange
say.
places with you.
Well, I would too.
And it's interesting that you say this walking. However, it's a bit like the tongue and the teeth. They both serve a great purpose. I mean, without the teeth, you can't chew. Without the tongue, you can't taste. Sometimes they do draw blood. And I've always said this, I wonder who started the fight first. But they've never moved house. Why is it that we eject as soon as the first sign of offense comes out?
Well, going back to the accountability issue, again, accountability simply means, I'm a linguist, so I like to parse words.
Good, go
it
for it.
means to be the process or the need to give account. And I think it's safe to say I'm the youngest on this table, so I think I can say this without getting in trouble.
You don't know how old the rest of us are.
But we've arrived at a point in history where we now have, for the first time, multiple generations alive that are legal adults. So multiple living generations that are legal adults that have emerged from the horrible experiment of the destruction of the human family. So there's at least 3 living generations, millennials, X and Y, if I'm mistaken.
Baby boomers.
Whatever. Boomers. I don't think the boomers fall into that category, because I'm talking about generations that lived or were born into the dysfunction of the human family.
Okay, I think it was from the
Baby boom.
Busters, from Busters down.
Good. And so we've seen that experiment come to its full fruition. And what it's done is raise, and I would be one of those people, raise a generation of people who are emotionally fractured, for whom the family experience, both the nuclear family and the wider family experience, has been more often than not negative. The problem is when you then bring that relationship or that dysfunction in family relationships into the real world of leadership and mentoring. Mentoring is one of those interactions that creates or simulates a family relationship. And so you will start to see some of the trauma that has come out from that pain manifest. So when you go to work, it's a manager, it's a boss. It's my job, I clock in, I clock out, that's fine. But like you said, ma'am, a mentoring relationship is a nurturing one. There's a family element to it. So you start to have an emotional attachment
There must be.
that can dig up some of that pain. And when you have a generation that grew up being told subconsciously that if I'm accountable to you, if I'm vulnerable to you, you will abandon me, or you will control me or manipulate me. We're on the lookout for that everywhere we go. And so that now means that that word, like you said, is a negative word, because the process of having to give an account is seen as having to be something other than being able to be my full potential, which it really shouldn't be.
Yeah. So,
Interesting perspective.
this is a very interesting perspective, and I think it's going to get worse because the fracturing is going on. We've all been through trauma these last couple of years. How are we going to make sure that we don't eject a God-ordained relationship? That's on the one hand I want you to think about. Because of time, I'm just going to throw in another question so somebody else can answer that. Also, how do we interact in a biblical way? Because I've seen that secular mentoring is very linear, the clean lines, because it's not built on that degree of vulnerability and that emotional marriage, if you like. But in biblical mentoring, I give my life for you, and you give your life into my hands. How do we make sure we handle these fragile mentalities?
I think that as a mature person and a discerning mature person, it makes you sensitive to where people's weaknesses or their trauma is. And well, I'm just talking for me in terms of my dealings with people. And I'm sensitive to that. So I'm very conscious in terms of how I speak to people. I've clocked where their vulnerabilities are, and I'm not touching them. Or if I do, it's going to be in a very soft way, gentle way, because I don't really want to offend them. I don't want to hurt anybody. I'm there to help them achieve. I'm there to help refine them, help them achieve whatever it is they want to achieve, share my information, etc. So I feel it's just beholden upon me to be sensitive and not to unduly hurt anybody or upset anybody.
Well, it's sensitivity backing out, because I can imagine, okay, so we know Jesus mentored actually his disciples. He didn't call them to a classroom. He called them to a relationship with himself.
I don't think they were traumatized.
Okay, I'm coming. He ate in their mother-in-law's homes. He was in their houses. He used their business premises, like their boats and stuff. This was a close relationship. And then one day he calls one of the senior ones and embarrasses him in front of everybody, say, the devil talks through you. You're trying to mess up my destiny.
Is that Pastor Peter?
I can imagine what kind of response I would give, because I'm embarrassed, and everybody's going to talk about every little thing. They're going to say how even the master said that, the devil. But this guy stays with the plot. We don't have that these days. And I'm saying, when do we not press the eject button? And how do we heal the hurt and not back off? Because at some time, I got to speak the truth to you.
Okay, I hear that. I think, like I said, you have to be sensitive, and that's where you kind of tune into what the Spirit is saying. Because you have to speak truth, but there's a time and season for everything. Okay. So you pick the right moment, because I don't want anyone to cuss me.
I always tell myself, Krisha, you're here for a purpose. I always imagine my journey in a train. So there are people who get on the train, and not everybody travel with me to my destination. People get down as well. So I tell myself, look, if I'm going to cry every time someone gets off the train, I won't get to my destination, I'll be crying. So I always think my life journey, so that's why people come and say, oh, Krisha, you're not hurt, you're not crying, why? How are you handling it? Because in my head, I always have these 5 things, number 1, look up to God. Number 2, have a good relationship. Number 3, watch your mouth, what you watching and then hearing. Number 4, respect. Number 5, if you have to say bye.
Say bye. It's all right. I'm still going to go to when do I not press the eject button, whether as a mentor or a mentee?
Well, from personal experience, I had to come to the realization, like she said, that I'm not called to everybody. I think one of the problems mentors have is that we want to mass produce it. Mentorship, you can mass produce coaching, training, teaching, instruction. You can't mass produce mentorship. So I shouldn't have more people I'm supposed to be mentoring than I can walk with. That's number 1. Number 2 is from the jump. I actually have mentoring contracts now.
Oh, is it?
Yes. and I'll have a conversation with you, and you go and write the contract. So we have a talk, and then you go and you present me with a piece of paper that says what you want from this relationship and why you want me to mentor you. So we can negotiate that off the jump. And thirdly, we will make it clear this is a life relationship. So I want to know where you're coming from, what your traumas are, what your issues are, so I'm prepared for what may come up. And as the quote unquote mentor, it is now my responsibility to sometimes take the shorter end of the stick emotionally. If I believe this relationship needs to last for your good, I must be prepared to take some hits along the way while you are figuring out your emotional journey. On the flip side, if I'm the mentee, which is something I think people need to be taught both at home and in church these days, is that there was a man called Elisha who threw a garment on a man called Elijah, threw a garment and walked away, and then had a shout at him for following him, and spent 15 years, historians tell us, trying to get rid of this guy. And Elisha made up his mind. There's a reason I'm with you. I'm going to stick this through with all your imperfections, all your issues, all your emotional dysfunction. I stand to gain from this relationship. I'm going to make sure it lasts as long as it needs to till I become the person I'm supposed to become based on it.
Wise guy. And I think he actually got the double anointing. That's what people don't realize because of proximity.
He did.
He actually, if you see me when I go, in other words, if you're still staying on track. And
he had every reason to bail out.
Yes, and every time, even his peers told him, where are you staying with this guy for? I wanted to just go back on something you said very quickly. That this mentoring contract wasn't started by you, actually. Jesus did it. He got rid of everybody. And then he said, if you're going to stay with me, you're going to have to deal with the mess of eating my body and drinking my blood. And then people left.
They did.
And the few that were left, he said, I want to be clear. It's not going to get better. It's going to get bad. And you're still going to stay until they got to the place where they said, if we don't go with you, where else are we going to get what we need? I think every mentee needs to come to that place. And every mentor needs to stop promising gold.
Yeah,
because
yes.
I can't promise you a rose garden.
No, you can't.
But it's going to be this sometimes turbulent relationship. But if I know what I want from it, then I'm going to stick to it. And actually, mentoring is not just passing on information. It is shaping lives. And like a parent, sometimes you shape by encouragement. Sometimes you shape by the threat. Sometimes you do what you have to do.
And sometimes you shape by pulling away intentionally to allow space for that person to process stuff on their own.
I like that.
And that's one of the things that triggers that ejection, because people tend to process rejection dysfunctionally. Or so I say process withdrawal as rejection. And so that's one thing that I had to learn along the way. I make it clear at the beginning, I am not going to be there every time you push a button. Part of my mentoring of you is creating space for you to figure stuff out from a safe distance, and I'll jump in if and when I need to.
So I'm developing you. I'm not going to solve all those problems. Besides, so a lot of times we think the control is from the mentor, but equally so,
yes.
A mentee, like any child, can also see how far they can go with the control. So both of us have control buttons. I wanted to, because I hate this. Time's gone and we have to land. How do we fix the hurts and the brokenness and the fears and build confidence? Can you tell me very quickly, in 30 seconds, how we do that? You're still going to come to your takeaway. You haven't got this yet, but
how can we mend the...
Heal the hurts, the fears, build the confidence.
I think that when you enter in a relationship, both parties, you've got to come with trust. You've got to leave the past behind. This is a new relationship, and it's like any relationship. You give, you take, you forgive, you forget. You move on, you get with the program.
So don't bring the baggage from the last relationship.
Not at all.
Don't look at me with those suspicious lenses that you had from the past.
I think mentors need to invest in their own emotional function. And so as a mentor, I have to be ready to engage a human being who's going to be flawed. And like a parent or a leader in any circumstance, make it my responsibility as much as lies within me to make sure this works. And that means a level of wholeness, a level of self, so what I'm looking for now, level of self-value and worth that will not be affected if the person I'm supposed to be nurturing needs time to work through some things that come up in the relationship.
That's the
Are
question.
we ready to let them go? Like 2 Samuel chapter 21, when David was tired, David's men were saying, don't come anymore to war. Yeah. We will do it. And are we ready to empower them, encourage them, and give that space.
Really, we need to get ready. Oh, I just hate this, but it's come to a close. And, just a takeaway from you. Building the hurts, building the confidence, healing the fears. A takeaway.
Mentor and mentee should see the relationship as something that is going to be positive and empowering. And if you have God at the center of that, it's going to be a blessing on your life.
Just an empowering relationship.
Mentor, invest in making it clear to the mentee that you love them and care about them. People don't care about what you know till they know that you care. And so model the relationship as being authentically about the well-being of the mentee.
Oh, like that.
When the justice is absent, the shalom, the peace is broken. So both sides have to work on justice.
If I was to add to that and encapsulate everything that you said, I think that mentoring is relationship first. Let's take time. Let's eat together. Do life together before we start to teach together. Thank you so much, and God bless you for your wise voices on this matter. And if everybody is listening, they surely will take something out of this. Thank you very, very much for taking the time to come out. God bless you.